good morning, good afternoon, whatever time of day you're watching this. Today we are making a cinnamon coffee cake. It has a really moist cake. It has a delicious, gooey cinnamon filling, another layer of cake, and then a really nice crunchy Cinnamon-Streusel that goes on top. It's lots of people's favorites. It's excellent for just a sweet treat or a bit of dessert, or you can have it for breakfast too, because it is coffee cake, so it's meant to be had for breakfast. I love it with some tea or coffee or whatever you desire. So let's get baking. First off, what we're gonna do is the topping that goes on top. Okay, so for the topping, what you need is 1/2 cup of brown sugar, 1/3 cup of flour, 3 tablespoons melted butter, and a tablespoon of cinnamon. So we're just gonna combine all of those into a bowl. We've got our brown sugar going in, our flour going in, and then we'll put in the cinnamon and mix that around so that they're combined before the butter goes in. Alright, so once you've got that fairly well mixed, you're just gonna toss in your melted butter. Once you've got this all mixed together, it's gonna be just kind of like wet sand, a bit sticky, but not too crumbly or messy. And then we're just gonna pop this into the fridge, because actually it'll crumble a bit nicer if the butter's all hardened. So while we're mixing everything else, just toss that into your fridge, or whatever direction your fridge is. Hopefully it's not that inconvenient. On to step 2. So next step, this is a filled coffee cake. So we've got a layer of cake, a layer of filling cake, and then topping going on it. So right now we're gonna mix the topping bit of it, which is 1 cup brown sugar and 1.5 tablespoons of cinnamon. So just mix that all together so it's a nice even color. Your next step will be to make the actual cake. So our first step in making the cake will be to mix together 3/4 cup butter, 2.5 teaspoons baking powder, 1/2 cup brown sugar, 1.5 cups granulated sugar, and 1.25 teaspoons salt. Now, if you're not using unsalted butter like I am, you'll just do 1 teaspoon salt if you've got salted butter. Into our bowl goes our butter, which I'm just gonna beat that a little bit first because it's easier to combine everything in afterwards if you've got the butter already nice and smooth. So our next step will be just tossing in, I'm just gonna do the granulated sugar in, and then our brown sugar going in. Okay, so those two are nice. It's nice and creamy in there. As you can see, they're just all uniformly together. So go ahead and toss in your salt and your baking powder. Give that a bit of a mix just to kind of incorporate it preliminarily. And then you can go ahead and measure out your vanilla. So in here we've just got 2 teaspoons of vanilla. So 1, and I find vanilla can sometimes be really sneaky, and you've always got this little bit that's left in there. So when you're mixing it just into your sugar, you can just kind of dab it off on the side. Just kind of mix it a little bit, and that'll save you from losing any vanilla. Not that that little bit is really going to change your recipe. It just always makes me feel better to use every last drop. Alright, so just go ahead and give that a mix. Now, as you can see, this is really a lot different from the cold butter we started off with, where it's a really nice, creamy, smooth mixture. It's really easy to mix, and that is what you're looking for at the end of this stage. Our next step for this then is just cracking in 3 large eggs, and I've got 3 cage-free brown eggs in here. Obviously, whatever you have in your fridge is fine. I just think using cage-free is nicer. So then just mix, 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 mix until it's all nice and homogeneous. Okay, so once you've got all of your egg mixed in there, you can move on to step number 5. So what we are doing in this step is to mix 3/4 cup Greek yogurt, or you can also use sour cream. I just personally prefer to use Greek yogurt. So what I've got in here is Chobani, and it's actually vanilla. You can use plain. I just happen to have vanilla in the fridge, so that's what I'm using. It doesn't really change anything. It might make it a little bit sweeter, but hey, there's nothing wrong with that. Alright, so and then we've got 1.25 cup of milk. Again, just whatever you have. In here we have skim milk and then a little bit of whole milk because I ran out of skim. but it really doesn't matter for the recipe. Won't change anything. Whatever you've got is fine. A lot of the time I have 1%, really just whatever. So we've got our yogurt going in here, and then pop in your milk. Set that aside, and then just give it a whisk. If you have a cute little whisk, go ahead and use your whisk. And if you've got a bigger whisk, that's fine. If you don't have a whisk, just use a fork. In here, we've got a relatively massive amount of flour. This is 3 3/4 cup flour. And we're gonna be alternating with our yogurt and milk mixture into our sugar mixture. So starting with the flour, go ahead and add about 1/3 of that flour. Just kind of guesstimate, eyeball it, whatever makes you happy. So dump that in there. Looks good to me. Just give that a stir till it's all nice and incorporated. Don't stir it too much. I mean, you don't have to worry about over stirring it, but just until it's incorporated is all you need to do, because we'll be doing other stages. So then you add in half of your milk mixture. Again, just eyeball it. It doesn't have to be perfect. It's all going in there eventually. Right. And again with another 1/3 of your flour. So then in again with the last half of your milk mixture. And then with the 3rd of your flour. And while you're doing this, just be sure that you're scraping down your sides, getting underneath the bottom. So once your batter's all mixed, what you want to do is then pull your topping out of the fridge and just grab your filling from wherever you put it off to the side. You're doing a 9 by 13 inch pan. This one has been greased and floured. You don't have to flour it. It does make things come out easier, but it's not a necessity. But it does make quite a lot. So you do want to make sure that you've got ample pan space for this all to go in. The first thing what you're going to do is take half of your batter and just layer it down in the bottom. Looks about half to me. And then you can just take a spatula or your spoon, whatever, and just run it out to the sides. Smooth out the top there. Pop your spoon back in there, and then take your filling, and you're just gonna cover the top with the filling. Just go crazy. I like to use my fingers just because I think it's easier. Again, you can use a spoon, whatever, just dump it, whatever makes you happy. I just think it's a bit easier to control what you're doing with your fingers. And it is gonna be kind of a thick, it's not gonna be thin, it's gonna be kind of a thick filling in here, what you're doing, which is gonna be quite tasty, so don't skim, don't worry about it. It's all going to be in there, so you don't have to worry about saving anything for anything else or not having enough. You'll be fine. Something I like to do, because I've got the filling in there, is I just kind of put dollops of it on, which makes it easier to spread out over the top. You're not squishing your filling all over everywhere. And then, if you want to just grab a spatula to get the rest of those sticky bits out from your bowl, and then just get it all out. So we're not wasting any of that lovely butter we just mixed up. And then again, just like last time, taking your spatula and just pressing it out. You can kind of like lift it a bit over, just because you've got the filling under there, so you can't just be gentle and just get it all out there. However works best for you. Now for our final step, we're finally there, guys, before putting it in the oven. So what you want to do is just grab your crumble, and it's going to be a bit hard now that it's been in the fridge for a bit, hardening up, which was the goal, so good job. Just grab it. You might need to pry it a bit away from the edges of the bowl with your fingers. That's fine. We want it kind of in big chunks. But that size is really delicious. Really, just whatever makes you happy. I think big clumps of streusel are the best. So just get it all on there, sprinkle it around. Once again, like with the filling, you're not gonna have to worry about not having enough or wasting any, or it is just all gonna get on there. So just sprinkle it over quite evenly. If you need to, just break it up with your fingers. That's the one thing that's nice about this streusel, is that because it's been in the fridge hardening up, you can break it, and it's already in a big chunk, so you can just break it into smaller chunks, and it'll melt and cook nicely on the top. Mine's a bit more crumbly than it normally is. just because. So crumble up the last piece of your streusel and then pop it into your oven, which is at 350. If you didn't do that earlier, just go ahead and turn it on now, it's fine. 350 for 35 to 45 minutes. Alright, so once your coffee cake has come out of the oven, it should look something like this. Nice and golden brown on the top, and just kind of light and springy back to the touch if you tap on the top of it. Don't push too high though, because you will stick your finger through it, and that would be a messy mess. So we're just going to cut out a bit. And I did wait for mine to cool a bit, but you can just cut it when it's hot out of the oven, which makes it super delicious, so whatever you prefer though. So it's absolutely delicious. You can see the gooey filling in there with your nice crunchy topping on top. And let's see. It should be pretty delicious because it's still actually, even though I let it cool for probably half an hour even, it's still nice and warm in there. It's absolutely delicious. You've got the nice, sweet, just kind of vanilla base of the cake with the cinnamon in there, in the filling and the topping. It's just delicious. It's one of my favorite dishes. It's one of my roommates' favorite dishes. Whenever I give it to people, they love it. So I would definitely recommend this. Go ahead and give it a try. Let me know if you do, and happy baking!